Okay, test. 1, 2, 3, test. You're welcome. All right, you're welcome. Good evening. Welcome again to our class tonight. My name is John. I'll be the host for our Discovery Wednesday with Guy. Those of you who are joining us online, if you are new, if this is your first session, our Wednesday night classes are one in which in a moment Guy will give a talk that lasts about 60 minutes. You can see below you on the screen the topic and the key lesson that he'll be talking about today. When he's through, we'll take a short break and then we come back for a dialogue, a discussion where the students here in the building and those of you online can join together and we can each help each other better understand what Guy presents today. And we do that through asking questions, through talking, and working through the material that Guy has presented to us. And again, whatever comments you make online or here are valuable. They help us all deepen our understanding. So please do participate when you have the chance, and when that chance comes, I'll tell you more about the mechanics of doing so. Finally, just for the students here in the room, if you have a cell phone, do please check and make sure you've turned it off or put it in silent mode. And with that, I'll begin by reading the topic and the key lesson for this evening. Our topic is Enroll in the finishing school called Life and Set Yourself Free. And here is the key lesson. There is a big difference between making a mistake and thinking of oneself as being a mistake. Any compulsive wish to be seen as perfect in the eyes of the world is a punishment that can never be a part of true peace and contentment.
Everything copacetic in the world of technology? Now it is. Welcome to all of you who are joining us. It is Wednesday, January the 24th, and here in the Western Hemisphere it is the evening of the wolf moon. Native Americans gave all of the moons titles relative to the general appearance of certain natural phenomena occurring in that time, around that time. And if you're here some other time than that, I'm still delighted that you're joining us and that you have an interest in going beyond the world of imagination in which most of us live. You know, the moon has no light of its own, so that any light that it shines is because it is reflecting the sun. The moon represents imagination, the world of dreams. And I only say this to you not because it's important at all relative to your development, other than it's my intention this evening while we work together, and we will have a list and work through it as we always do, to help open your eyes to something that in one way or another is never not before them. That's the extraordinary thing that you'll discover if you develop as a human being, that there isn't one thing that you need to know that isn't being shown to you in the moment that you're in. And in whatever the revelation is of that moment, it cannot be separated from the consciousness in which it's being revealed. It's a singularity. And it is our willingness to participate in the business of this relationship between the world that is spinning around us and the world within us in which it is constantly reflected, to grow in the realization of a relationship that we have with this world that we are in and that is in us, and that we are on this planet because we have business here to do with both worlds. Something very difficult for us to understand. Most of us believe that our business in this world is to become someone spectacular. How many of you are spectacular? You'll look at me like, well, no, I don't try to be spectacular. Yeah, right. So to set the stage, a quick little story. At least I intend it to be quick. I never know how these things will roll along. But imagine Solomon, wise old Solomon, our beautiful, wise, intelligent owl, overseeing the forests and the plains that he flies over, representing, in some respects, wisdom, Sophia. His job is to bring balance into the world, so that wherever there's conflict or disharmony, wherever there's some kind of suffering, it won't be long before, as he flies along perfectly silently, that he won't catch wind of something and he'll be drawn to it in order to help bring about and reconcile whatever it is that is wrecking that moment, and really the life of everything around it, and for that matter, the whole of reality. Because you can't have conflict in one place that doesn't spread to every place. So he hears this moaning. You'll be the little branch for right now. You love to moan. This is your chance to do it consciously. Let's have it. See? Isn't that just perfect? You did it so well. God help us. So Solomon swoops down and he says to the little branch, well, what's going on with you? And the little branch that's inside of a vast vineyard looks up, and Solomon says, what do you mean? Why could you ask me what's wrong with me? For one thing, I don't know what's going on. Just because it happens to be October, I'm starting to feel a little weird. I'm beginning to feel like something's slipping away from me, and I'm terrified. Not am I terrified, but I haven't been able to continually grow the things that I know that I'm supposed to grow. The fruit that I've grown barely stands up to anything. I look around me, all these other guys and gals they're bearing lots of grapes. Solomon said, don't have sour grapes. Solomon said, well, is there anything else? Anything else? Man, I don't think you understand. I think I'm disappearing. What's going on? Solomon says, well, I know the problem. It could almost be a doctor story if a branch could talk, and they do. Solomon says, the problem is very evident. Well, yeah, what's that? What's that? He says, you think you're the vine. He says, I have news for you. You're not the vine. You are given a life through the vine, and that if you were aware of the fact that you'd been given a life through the vine, you wouldn't have wasted your energies trying to figure out how not to disappear. You would have given all of your attention to the connection between yourself and the vine, where the life that gives you the right to grow grapes and the ability to do so is always there. You're just disconnected because you think you're the end-all, be-all. How many of you understand, in some measure, it is impossible for a man or a woman who knows anything of immortality to be afraid of disappearing? And you are. All of us, to whatever extent it's true, every last attachment, every minuscule, seemingly mighty event, potential that unfolds for us is crucial, because we believe that somehow or other that what is growing out of that moment that we see taking place. We are somehow responsible for it coming that way. And if I'm the one who created this, I must be the one who protects it. So you could say that the little branch was compulsively drawn to trying to protect itself from something that it had no ability to do because it wasn't what it imagined itself to be. The vine alone remains relatively eternal to the branch. Everybody understand this little story? Now, what if, as I was talking about Saturday and Sunday, with this idea of be yourself and be free, what if a person understood that before it's even remotely possible for a man or a woman to be him or herself, they're going to have to discover what their self actually is? And if you think you're the branch, and you do, then you have no way of understanding not only the temporality of thought and the identity it establishes, but the temporality of the consciousness that gives rise to that thought, that has no awareness whatsoever that were it not given that life, it wouldn't have a life at all. And that, if you can see it, true or not, please, does not the branch have a certain business to do with the vine? And if the branch believes it is the vine, then does it not mistakenly believe somehow or other that all of creation depends on me? My happiness, my contentment, my strength, my intelligence, it all depends on me. And in case you doubt that's true, just look at the way you judge yourself endlessly. Anytime life doesn't line up with whatever it is that you believe you have created as an individual and that needs to be kept in place, so forth and so on. Still with me? The business of my existence. The business of my existence. I can talk until forever. Men and women like myself have been talking forever. I may have been talking forever. And it doesn't change anything unless a person begins, for good reason, based on the experience of their day-to-day life and their relationships therein, to realize, how is it possible that I'm about the right kind of business when every single day, regardless of the business I get done, I'm a bloody wreck? So there's no end to my business. And no end to me trying to protect it or prove it or show others that how valuable I am. All of the things that plague us, that only plague us because without understanding it, we have come to this point where we believe somehow or others we are the creators of the business of our life. And my life is going about the business that I believe my life is for. And though we can't see it, we're so deeply conditioned. The business that you think your life is for is the exact same business that your mother and father died trying to prove to themselves that they knew something about real life. The words, one day, although they are probably well intended on the part of your mother or father, I want you to have everything, son, that I didn't have. Maybe you didn't hear those words. That's why I make the sacrifices I do. And I want you to understand, there's no question that if you had half-decent parents, they made sacrifices of some kind. How could they not? They saw to it that you got to this point of looking like you do now, for which they may have great regrets. We are created to be about our Father's business. And we don't know anything about it at all. Now, don't believe me. In fact, I urge you not to believe anything I say. Work with me. Look at the things that I'm going to show you. Because for one thing, when you think about the words of my Father, let me read this passage to you. This is out of the New Testament. Apparently, Christ had wandered off while his parents were on their way to Las Vegas or something. This is out of, I think, John. But supposing him to have been in the company, the traveling, they went a day's journey and sought him among their relatives and acquaintances. So apparently, the young Christ had disappeared. So when they did not find him, they returned to Jerusalem, from whence they had set out, seeking him. Now it was that after 3 days, these numbers have great significance, by the way, but I don't have time to go into it. After 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the teachers, the rabbis, both listening to them and asking questions. And all who heard him were astonished at his understanding and his answers. So when they saw him, Mom and Dad, they were amazed. And his mother said to him, "Son," listen to this question, "why have you done this to us?" C'est moi, c'est moi. Why have you done this to us? And then, look, your father and I have been looking all around for you. And he said to them, "Why do you seek me? Did you not know that I must be about my Father's business? Did you not know that I must be about my Father's business?" I just pause for this moment because I want to try to make clear to you, because it's not evident enough yet, that each and every one of us is here to complete the business of the moment that we are in and given to do. And the business that we're in and given to do is part of this, and words just do not cut it, are part of an infinite, eternal, unending process of perfecting the creation of life at the level of existence that you and I are in at that moment. Now, I'm going to explain this, so don't get lost. This is as simple as it could possibly be. But if you understand that much, that means that nobody, absolutely nobody, but you, but me, can complete the moment, can do the business the moment is asked of us to tend to. So that in attending to the business that we're given to do, what are we doing? We are working to bring about in that moment everything that has been gathered in us, all that is active, touching what is passive responding, so that in the gathering of these active celestial forces, planetary energies, engaged in the earthly body, created from those energies, I have to digress for a moment. I know I shouldn't, but I have to. What is everything in the universe made from? Now you could say God, but we don't. It's light, energy. So that it doesn't matter what you're talking about, whether you're, I don't know if you've ever seen any of the Webb satellite is capturing these just unbelievable images of these galaxies. And I remember the first time I saw one, and it said, this is a nursery for stars. I'll never forget the feeling that I had looking at this Eagle Claw Nebula. And it's so immense, it's impossible to describe, but what that nebula does is it gives birth to suns. I mean, to just even fathom in a small way the degree of immensity, but then to understand that Eagle Claw nebulating, doing what it's doing, is itself a branch to another vine. And that everything that is created, that ever will exist, was born out of one of these suns, born in one of these nebulas, giving its life up. Its business was to come into existence, to bring about through its existence a host of forces that would produce changes across the entire galaxy in some form or another. And then in all of that motion, at the end, to finally give itself up, so that in giving itself up, all of the elements that are created from light that is coalesced into various forms can then be spread out across the universe and gather into planets. And planets become flora and fauna. And human beings, the blade of grass and the human being, Whitman himself wrote it. I am a coalesced bit of light being acted on by light that isn't coalesced, for the purpose of a relationship between the sun and the son of the sun, which is, by the way, why they called Christ what they called him. The light of the sun acting on the son of the sun. You are the son of the sun. And were it not so, you couldn't experience the energies the way they come in to do what they're intended to do, which is what? To continue the business. So that in some form or scale, God help us to understand it, you and I become in scale a sun. A sun that must give its life up so that another sun and another element, another form can come into existence. What is rebirth other than the sun becoming the son of the sun and the son of the sun giving its life up for the sake of the light that gave life to it? You see it with me? Like I said, it's a bit of a digression, but it's important to feel these things. Can you feel it? Now, if that's true, and here is this infinite, and that the word doesn't just stinks. All of this energy. We collapse under the full moon. All of it producing inside of us an upheaval, what we would call a disturbance. Believing, as we have been conditioned to do, having made the kingdom of life in our own image, that in our kingdom is meant to have no disturbances in it at all. Nothing. And if there's any hint of a disturbance, it's followed by immediate resistance, isn't it? And then subsequent negativity. And then out of that negativity, some kind of conflict. It's inevitable. So that instead of gathering and producing in its business as it's intended to, the creation of a new form produced by what is active, acting on what is passive, and reconciling through that union to bring about a rebirth. Instead, there's not a rebirth, there's the reincarnation of everything that's old and ugly and angry. Yes or no? And in contrast to this, because you wouldn't be here watching and listening, let alone in this room in person, if you hadn't seen that from time to time, suddenly comes this epiphany. Suddenly comes a moment where you don't have to be in thought about anything at all, because in that moment, whatever is acted on you and whatever has been revealed in you, what is an epiphany other than the marriage and the reconciliation of everything that's gathered in that moment, so that the realization is greater than the sum of the parts of that moment? Isn't that an epiphany? Please. And then I don't have to do anything to complete the moment. Why? Leading to our list, by the way. Why don't I have to do anything? My whole life as a branch, this, that, no grape, why? Why don't I have to do anything in that moment? Repeat after me. Because it's finished. It's finished. Oh, that one day you have in your heart and mind and in your body a prayer. I'm going to describe the reason for it, and then we'll speak it so we understand what our exercise is. But for now, bringing you into this, because we're talking about unfinished business, aren't we? Let's bring up our list for study. We'll go over the list. I'll prime the pump as we usually do, and then everybody, if you're joining us for the first time, you are invited to contribute through the webinar chat box or any of the various streaming boxes. I don't know what I'm talking about. Is there a streaming box? Whatever the platform is that allows you to post a comment. Come on. Patricia and I leased an EV today. Oh, am I sorry I did that? Yeah, the technology, it's stunning. And you know the saying about you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Correct. Not without a lot of resistance and frustration. They think you're supposed to understand. Maybe the 12-year-old can, but I tell you what. All right, let's go through our list. Ready? Here is the list. Close attention. Name some piece of unfinished business in your life. Maybe an old condition or painful personal trait you suspect remains unfinished because the suffering inherent in its revisitation will not let you forget the following. There can be no release from any form of suffering until the real reason for its continual reappearance is realized and reconciled. Name some piece of unfinished business in your life, maybe an old condition, painful personal trait that you suspect is unfinished. And you suspect it because every time it comes back around, up comes this blackness over myself. I disappear and I'm swept away and in the momentum of some kind of resistance, thinking to myself all along that I know how to finish this business. Yes or no? So I'll prime the pump, some piece of unfinished business. We hear it all the time. You talk to yourself. What do you think please, if you'll accept this, what do you think you never stop talking to yourself about? Unfinished business. And the more you talk to yourself about the things that you talk to yourself, the more business there is that's unfinished. Because it scatters and divides and divides and scatters, creating not order, but chaos. Because the only thing that can come out of resisting unfinished business is chaos. That's it. So, priming the pump. One of the things, do we not always hear and do not feel that we're talking about you? The key lesson said otherwise. How about, I'm still absolutely insane over what he or she did yesterday, 20 years ago, or when I was 12. Yes or no? Is that not unfinished business? How about, I don't want anybody to know that I am an addict, that I can't stop eating or rushing, or I can't stop being greedy. I can't stop resenting someone else or something about my own life. How about this for unfinished business? I judge myself mercilessly. Isn't that unfinished business? Can I judge myself unless I think I'm superior to the self I'm judging? And the way in which I'm going to finish this business of this inferior me is I'm going to finally get me, straightened out once and for all. And all of my business in the end that is unfinished is basically to try to bring myself to some place in life where I've got everything done, it's completed at last, and I'm in peace. Hallelujah, brothers and sisters. Okay, we already have some in the list, but we'll start right here. Chris.
Keeping myself so busy so I don't feel the pain.
I have unfinished business with my pain. Really, that's it. I have unfinished business with my fear. See, for instance, and we're going to do this. I live with a fear that never calls itself a fear. I live with something that says this business is unfinished, and when I get it finished, I won't be anxious anymore, so that my mind is in the future or in the past, but never in the moment where everything is coalesced for me to realize there's an unending conflict in me. I just have the word fear, but fear describes 10,000 different moments in my life. Does it not? On the board, 1, decisions. I have unfinished business with bad decisions. In the room, anybody? Terry. I have unfinished business with liars and other thieves. Well, she said with people that don't keep their word. That's a euphemism for people that aren't quite as honest as I am. Yes, exactly. Patricia.
Dislike over a family member that's dead now.
I have unfinished business with a dead member of my family. You know that's true. Nick. Well, you right in this instance, Nick. Nothing goes right for you. I'm in an argument with God. I don't call it God. And really what I'm in an argument with is what in my godlike nature I have said life should be, and it's not. Barb.
I must be seen as perfect.
I have unfinished business with the inability of the idiots around me who cannot see that I am alone am the most perfect 74.99-year-old person in the world. Yeah. Ellen.
Guilt.
Yeah, oh yeah. With Ellen always has the exact same problem. But see, look at it. I love that we can laugh at these things. But sweet God, please see it. I have unfinished business with my own ambition, with my greed, with my selfishness. On the board, I have unfinished business with, Randall, just like Barbara, the need for endless approval. Jean, comparing myself, yes, I have unfinished business with comparing myself to others, and I have unfinished business with my sense of self-inadequacy. Namita, I have unfinished business with the fear of suffering caused by physical pain. I'm going to let this go for now, Namita, but your unfinished business isn't with the fear of suffering. Your unfinished business is with being identified with something that tells you this is what it's going to be like. So that in one respect, all unfinished business is trying to get the world to line up with what I've identified it should be like so that I don't have fear or suffering in my life. Fiona, unfinished business, the push to work too hard while seeing it's not good for me as it causes it. So she says the push to work too hard while seeing it's not good for me as it causes me anxiety and pain. Simple summary, what? I have unfinished business with the unending ambition of being seen in a certain way and living a life according to the way I believe it must be lived. Isn't that what's the bottom of it? Yeah. Who else in the room? Sally.
Fear of being or doing something wrong.
Yeah, I have absolute unfinished business with the fear of somebody seeing that I'm not the way I imagine myself to be. Unfinished business with forever protecting myself. Who else in the room? Dana. She said, I have unfinished business with trying to control everything. So it isn't really with the unfinished business with trying to control everything. It's unfinished business with the fear of what will happen to me if I can't control everything. It's important to understand these distinctions if you could see them with me. Anybody else? A couple, yes?
I'm trying to figure out who
I have unfinished business with this struggle to know what my business is. Wayne, you be the last one because we've got a pretty good list.
Unfinished
That's a big one. I have unfinished business with a nature that has to assess blame in order for me to feel that I am blameless and have no responsibility to the moment. Try to, look, I help you formulate the idea, but you must do that work. Because you just sit and actually believe that you have some unfinished business with blame. You don't have unfinished with blame. I'll turn it around for you. Blaming has unfinished business with you. That consciousness requires you to do its business. And its business is not your Father's business, as we're about to see. Okay, wiping the slate clean, take a nice deep breath. Let's get on with this. Transition. So how many of you realize that we all have unfinished business? And we also should realize that this unfinished business that we have is really the root of the ongoing wreck that we become when whatever we thought was finished suddenly proves that it's not. Do you understand? Because I don't think to myself, I have a problem with you until you become a problem. When you become a problem, I have unfinished business with you and you're about to learn about it. Yes or no? Transition. I'm going to get the big, at boxing matches, they have those beautiful ladies walk across with those boards. They do round one, round two. Transition. When is a thing finished? Rhetorical for a moment. When is a thing finished? Just for a split second, try to see this. We just went through this whole list of where it is that we have unfinished business and that we spend our entire life, which is the source of all our conflict with everyone and everything around us, trying to get their business, the world's business, to align with my business. Yes? When is a thing finished? In our minds, it's when nobody bothers us anymore. It's a heck of a definition, isn't it, of finished. Try to see now, big picture. A thing is finished, and we're going to look at the definition of that too. You have already active in you but sound asleep. Another order of consciousness, another kind of energy. And that higher energy is already in relationship with everything that corresponds to its nature. So that what we would call wisdom is not the individual that is wise. What is real wisdom is that individual was wise enough along the way to recognize that the way in which they can act from wisdom is to become the instrument of wisdom. Not to try to be the vine, but to be connected to the vine so that the natural intelligence, the awareness would enter into you, and through that you would automatically be connected to exactly what you needed to be connected to in that moment to finish the moment. Because our moment is never finished. It's just like one horrific dream that momentarily pauses for a commercial break where you get to drink a Pepsi and have a Subway sandwich or something. And then it resumes and it's back to the struggle again to try to get my life to where my life won't have this disturbance in it. And everything that you do in order to bring the disturbance to an end sows the seed of the next disturbance, because the only way that I can feel that temporarily is to become identified and attached to my image or idea of what it means to be finished with something. Something is finished, and again, don't think of, see, that's the problem. Finished doesn't mean done with once and for all. That is not what finished means. Finished means when the moment of request, when the moment of what is active intercepts what is being requested from what it interacts with. That's when the business of life takes place. When the light of the sun hits the leaf of the tree. In every moment, in quotes, in the entirety of the wave of relationship between the life-giving sun and the life that is given to what it interacts with, that is a ceaseless act of finishing the relationship between the two, where each moment is finished, but in the moment of it being finished, something new has been created out of that. So that the leaf is never the same leaf, whether it's waxing or waning. It makes no difference to the grand scale of things. The end result is that something is finished as it is brought into reconciliation with the whole of the world that it is a part of in that moment. The leaf, in order to be a leaf, has to be given the energy that it must then turn into sugars and carbohydrates so that the tree can be sustained. So that that leaf is completed in each and every moment where that energetic transmission takes place. And in that moment, it is finished, but it isn't finished as in done. It's finished, it's completed, and then the new form is there to take it up again. That's why Christ said, it is finished. I can't say the Greek word. But it means essentially that it has been completed and now will take the course of the next piece of business. And if that's true in scale, which it is, that these moments that come in are intended to produce in us a relationship with that moment, just as Christ did. Look, where's the kingdom of heaven? So if there's, in quotes, we call it Christ, if there is this living love, this intelligence, if there actually is this life, and it is never not interacting, this is what I love, if it is never not interacting with what it itself is. Did I lose you? Does not the sun interact with itself in the form of a leaf? So the sun that's acting on the leaf is the leaf that's being acted on by the sun. They're just different forms in different times, different scale of creation. But the business is the same business. The business is the business of something that is timeless and active, the will of heaven, acting on the will of what is earth, of what is in form and time. But what is in form and time was made from sun, was made from light. By love, I might add. Because what is love other than the moment in which, through a union, something new is created? And through the union of these forces that I'm describing, that we are calling the business of my life, the business of the finishing the business of my life, that's the same as saying that there is no moment where, take a deep breath, next transition. How many of you know the saying, I'll let you finish it. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Can you make that journey unless the first step is finished? And if you don't finish the first step, are you going anywhere? The journey to the kingdom of heaven begins with a single step. A single step that is taken over and over and over again, but never by the same person and never in the same direction, but always under the direction and correction of another order of being that sees to it, if that creature and its business is willing to do so, to see to it that it is made new, because it finishes the step. So now can you connect the idea of finishing the step with what we call the heart of the cross. This place where what is timeless intersects what is in time. And then in the intersection of what is heavenly with the will of the earth, so to speak, that in that moment, there's business to be done. Isn't there? What's the business? That there is I wrote these words. There is the need of the moment. The need of the moment. Now, you and I think the need of the moment is for pizza. The need of the moment is for people to see what a brilliant person I am. The need of the moment is to make sure that 2 years from now, I'm not going to worry about my health because I'm going to drive myself insane now. I just had to throw that last part in. The business of the moment. The business of now. You still following me? What is the business of now? Can you separate the business of now? Do you understand the terminology? Doesn't the sun have business with the tree? And isn't that the business of now, the relationship between what is in time, timeless, the business of now? What is the business of now? Can you separate the business of now from the need of now? Can the leaf live, grow? Can the tree exist without the sun? So is there never not a need on the part of the leaf, the tree, and all of creation to receive what is active so that from that energy it can take through and bring into itself that which gives birth to the continuing perfection of creation, even as creation comes into existence and disappears? Finished in the sense of just completed and to be completed again. In that marriage, and I'll bring you in now, is a new conception because the reason for the marriage has been finished. Now, what about me? What about you? How does that apply? I would say at least a half a dozen times today, great impatience would come over me. At least a half a dozen times. Because there are days when, and make no mistake, impatience seems to be in order to recreate and bring about order. Doesn't it? But impatience is a scattering or a gathering force. And yet, here are these conditions. And whether we want to admit or agree with it or not, everything that is coming to us, we have some say in its appearance. They call it karma. Karma is not good or bad. Karma is justice. So all of these conditions are revealing through their passage all that is coming in and all that has been waiting, unfinished, to be brought into the awareness of that which alone can finish that piece of business, so that the individual who is willing to do so begins to understand. I am experiencing what I'm experiencing because there's unfinished business here. And the unfinished business isn't that the moment's not going the way it's supposed to, because that's what I believe to finish the business is, don't you? No, the unfinished business is the action of something that is stirring what waits to be finished. That which comes into existence. That's why only you can do your Father's business as only it is given to you to do. You keep trying to do the Father's business, the business of life, of love, of Christ. You keep trying to do it according to what others have told you the business is, who you need to be, how you need to handle things. That's what we do. We just then try to imitate what it means to get this finished so we can be free as we've imagined we're meant to be. That's what's so incredible. When you begin to see it, you understand. Nobody has been given the business to do that you've been given, because nobody has the essential qualities interchanged and mixed the way that you do when you came into this life. And that every last one of these incomplete creations, which everything in creation is, because it requires the sun, it requires S-O-N, S-U-N, it requires light to complete it. Every last one of these creations exists as an independent creature, part of a broader creature, that when the business is finished in me, it's finished for everybody. That's what Christ did. That's what every true awakened man or woman does with their life, is they give it up so that something can be finished in them. They don't give it up so it will be finished. They see it needs to be finished. They agree with that, and it is finished, and then they go on to the next thing that needs to be finished in scale. Everybody still tracking me here?
Yes.
So now let's get to the end. So back to what we said. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with... Now, what do you think your journey is? This is what's so important. What do you think your journey is? My journey is, as this young man said, forgive me if I know. I'm unfinished with, I don't know who I am. And yet, I say I don't know who I am, but I'm frustrated as hell. So apparently I do know who I am because I'm not measuring up to what I'm supposed to be. Otherwise, I couldn't possibly be so upset with being what I think I am. So my business that needs to be finished is to understand there is no moment in which the business isn't being given to me to be the instrument of its fulfillment. The moment of that anxiety, that's your Father's business with you. So that you, seeing the anxiety instead of trying to create order that actually produced the fear to begin with, you realize, I must take this one step and let it be finished with me. Let it be finished with me. Let this impatience be finished with me. Because it has been given to me to experience in a way nobody else can experience, even though everybody's impatient. Because not everybody has the same nuts and bolts. The machinery is wired differently. Do you understand? Our essence is of different orders, of different places. That's your task. And nobody but you can do it. Haven't you always wanted to be special? No, really, haven't you? I'm describing to you the most special thing in the whole universe. But the problem with this kind of special is that you're going to have to suffer not being who you've imagined you are, so that you can be finished with the pain of imagining yourself as you do. I have these words written down. You might want to write them down. I suppose you could grab it, Katie, and put it up later. It's short. To agree to be all I'm given to see, and thus completed, set free. To agree to be all I'm given to see, and thus completed, having done my Father's business, I'm free. And I'm not free because of a condition that I've created. I'm free because I have allowed the conditions that have met in me to be completed as they were intended to be through my willingness to give myself over to finishing that moment. And when you really finish a moment, who you were the moment before is finished as well. You are reborn. What do you think rebirth is? Rebirth is the end of the past, not the projection of the future. But in the marriage of these active and passive forces producing in you a recognition, this is what I've always said, it just grows, I hope it grows in you. How in the name of God is every last human being on this planet the center of all things? Not in the negative way in which we think ourselves to be, but the fact that every moment, every word coming out of my mouth, every bit of energy emanating from this heart is striking every last one of you in a way that only you can receive it, and only you can finish the relationship that it produces. Only you. No other person can do it. That's why imitation is corruption. To agree to be all I'm given to see, and thus completed, set free. Have you understood this? Let me just finish this step, this moment. Nothing more than that. Nothing more than that. And even if you understand it, which I can sense some of you understand it, you're going to see, I'm like, I can't stay here. I'm seized. Something come along and it's compulsory, seemingly, for me to get involved in figuring out what's wrong, because once I know what's wrong, then I know what's right. Once I know what's right, I can get this finished. That's why I asked, what is your unfinished business? Because if you examine it, you've had unfinished business. Human consciousness is unfinished business. And yet, by its very existence, it belongs to an order of reality, of being, by which, in its unfinished business, it can know how it is finished, it can know what finishes it, and it can be free in each and every moment. It allows itself to be reborn. Take the one step. Do you understand now the journey? One step. The journey is not what you think should have happened. That's why you suffer. The journey is, what is this moment? What is this moment? What is being moved in me? And then it is done. Let it be done. It's finished. That's what Christ said. I had some notes someplace. I don't know what I do with it. I'm kind of unhappy that I can't find it. Oh well. You work hard and you have a couple moments like that where you realize the only reason this pain is going on is because I'm trying to finish it, and the resistance to the condition is actually producing more of the condition I don't want. You see something like that, you have to step back, and then you let it be done. It's finished for you. Imagine if you knew, and God willing, one day you will, at some point. What if you knew it is never not being finished, and that you are the instrument of that completion between heaven and earth? Could you ever be afraid again? It would be impossible. It wouldn't be that you don't experience the reactions. That's part of this conditioning as it's stirred into activity through what touches it. But if you do this and understand it, Katie, let's bring up the second key lesson, and then we'll end this talk and open it up for Q&A. Please. This is a little bit of a revision of what I talked about on Saturday, more to the point, and definitely consistent with this idea of finish the business of the moment. You'll know when you are approaching the true meaning of what it means to be yourself, when every moment, regardless of its nature, enhances your love of life, and where no moment, regardless its nature, has the power to diminish your faith that all things good come to those for whom the good is all things. Imagine being filled with resistance to a moment and knowing that in that same moment the possibility exists for you to finish that business, and in finishing that business you finish the nature that is sitting there and struggling to find freedom again. And then you start to realize the freedom is inherent in the finishing of the business. Take a break, come back and have our dialogue.
Welcome back, everyone. As we get settled here in the classroom and you get settled back at home, wherever you're at, let me give you a couple of reminders and some news of upcoming events on our schedule. First of all, our schedule, our classes. We have a full week of classes that you can attend with us. Our next one is Friday night at 7 p.m. That is a student-led class. Longtime students of the foundation, such as me and others, we take the talk that Guy gave on Sunday and we work with it, we explore, use it in our life, and then on Friday nights we get together with other students online and we share our impressions. And so you're invited to join us for that student-led class, Friday night at 7 p.m. Then Saturday, Guy always speaks at 8 a.m. on insighttimer.com, a live class, a live discussion with Guy. And so do join us for that. And then also this coming Saturday, we have a special event 4 times this year, or that we can tell you about right now. We have dates at the end of each month, January, February, March, April, where we will be hosting a work party here at the foundation, at the Life of Learning Foundation in Southern Oregon. And that's just where we get together and we do what needs to be done to keep this foundation running. And we have 13 acres of grounds and buildings that need to be maintained. And so we get together to do a little work. And then afterwards we have lunch and a discussion with Guy. And you're invited to join us here if you're in the area at any time. We get together at about 9:30, work up until about 12:30, then have that lunch. And then afterwards, the discussion with Guy usually begins at about 1:30 and lasts for about 45 minutes or so. And that particular discussion will also be broadcast online. You can see it on our Facebook account and also on Guy's YouTube channel. So a special event, and we hope that you can join us one way or the other, in person or online. If you want more information about upcoming work parties as well, just go to guyfinley.org/work party to our website, and there's a link there that will give you some information. Finally, as always, we are a nonprofit organization, and we are grateful for any and all help we get in pursuing our mission of sharing these ideas around the world with anyone who is interested. And so if you are able and willing to help us, please do consider going to our website, guyfinley.org/donate. And there you can find many simple ways in which you can help us in this mission, both financially and also ways that don't cost you a penny. And thank you again for those of you who throughout the years have been generous in your support for our foundation. With that, let's go back to the main room. Let's check in with Guy and see if he has something else he wants to say or if he's ready to begin our discussion. Guy, over to you.
Thank you, John. And ready to have a dialogue if there is one to be had.
Sure thing, Guy. Again, for those of you who are watching this online, there are many different ways you can participate. On GoToWebinar, you have the opportunity to talk directly to Guy just by clicking the hand icon on your control panel, and you can speak directly to Guy then. On Facebook and YouTube, but you can send in written questions and comments, and all of that gets forwarded to me and part of our discussion. So I just got a note that Patricia is at the mic, Guy, so perhaps let's start with her.
Oh, did you say me?
Yep.
Hi, I'm Patricia. Guy mentioned we bought this vehicle yesterday.
Least.
And I want to say something about my impressions at the car dealership. First, of course, it's very high tech, all this electric stuff. The people that were selling the car to us were 20 and 21, which was different. There's always old folks usually selling cars. And they didn't know anything. One guy was only working for 5 days. But now when you go to a dealer, they wear you down. You give them the figure you want to pay, and then they tell you what they're going to give it to you for. So it takes hours. You go back and forth and back and forth. So during these hours, they were playing oldies music, which we like. But I was wondering, all these kids in the dealership, why have they got the oldies music on? And it was because the guy in charge liked he was old. The other guys were kids, they were all kids. So we would say, Guy, being in the music business, he would say, okay, they were named Trevor and
Jesse.
Jesse. Okay, Jesse, what's this song? Be like Neil Diamond. Something. I don't know. But what was the impression? They didn't know one song that was playing on the radio because they're 5 generations different than us. I don't know. But what my impression was, this new world, these new kids, and rightly so, they have their music, but they knew nothing of what we loved or what we think is special. Neil Diamond or, the Jackson 5 or whatever that was playing, what I'm saying, it's gone. And if you ever got a sense of self from any of that, it's gone. The new generation knows nothing about it. And that was the impression I got. And I felt that before when, and then one of them Googled Guy, and he says, you're all over the place. He says, what did he call you, Guy? It was very funny. You don't remember?
I don't want to.
And so they thought he was very famous, and it was cute. But what I'm saying is, what do you have there that can last, that can go forever? You don't. Anything, it's just already gone before you're even gone.
Somebody had asked a question in a chat that didn't get posted, at least it alluded to it. And I'm going to address it a little bit. I can't phrase the question entirely, but it was connected to this idea of what is eternal, immortal. So you see if you can connect this. Mr. Howard very wisely said it's wise to seek immortality because time defeats all other ambitions. But you see, when you hear the word immortality, you think it's a static condition. You think it's something that you're going to wear on your shirt, like a button or a badge. You think it's a place that is infinitely perfect. What is immortal is creation and the relationship of the Creator to it. That's what immortality is. It is the endless birth of light, giving birth to light through the light that it acts upon. That's what immortality is. That is that place where the step is. That's the one step. Because right there is where that's taking place. And where is it taking place? Is it taking place out there? No, it is taking place between, and this is the only other thing I'll say, I hope it doesn't confuse you. Our mind sees ourselves as passing through time. And the time that we think we're passing through cannot be separated from what we hope to pass into, that we can know peace and contentment. You are not passing through time. Time is passing through you. What do you think every last one of these moments of business is between the vine and the branch? It is the revelation of an experience taking place endlessly, forever. Try to see, and if you can, and make the distinction. I'm troubled because I look out and I see things passing, as did the little branch in our story. And it's afraid that things are passing because it's starting to pass with it, isn't it? Fall has come. The thing's going to fall off of the vine. It doesn't recognize that the relationship between the vine and the branch is an endless, eternal relationship. Nor do we understand that, because we're never in the place where the branch of this temporary existence and all of our conditioning meets that which cannot be conditioned, which is eternal. It's never there in that place, so it never sees how it's all endlessly reconciled, realized, reborn in a ceaseless movement. That's what eternity is ceaseless rebirth. All right, John, if there's anything.
Yes, Guy, I have a written question that's left over from Sunday that I'll share. And then our queue is open, so I invite our online students to raise their hand and participate if you want, or our in-person students, again, to go up to the mic. But here is the question, Guy, from Raju. Raju says, as a seeker and aspirant for many years, and with work that you inspire me to do and go deeper, is it inevitable that people close to me begin to fade away or distance themselves? I'm experiencing that syndrome in the past year or so, similar to the experience that a person on Sunday talked about. I don't ever want to convey energetically or otherwise that one is somehow superior.
Well, the truth is, Raju, you know the answer to your question before I answer it. My mind is swimming with impressions, and I don't know which is going to be the best one to share with you, whether to shock your shoes off or say something sweet. Our minds, as they are conditioned to be, cannot fathom the fact that there is an entirely different order of being. Entirely different order of being. The new man, the new woman, the one who, to whatever extent, is capable of them taking the one step, finishing the step. Finishing the step is letting yourself be finished. When you are finished, you don't need anyone else to round you out. You're not looking for others or this world or anything in it to confirm you as someone passing through time, trying to arrive at some place where it'll be finished. Because if you are, then all of those people have a place in your run, and because they do, you live with the fear of them or the resentment of them or the need for them, and in that fear, resentment, or need, you will invariably create the very disruption in the relationship that you feared would take place. So Raju, because he can't help it, looks at what he's described as a problem, doesn't he? One day, it'll be your greatest pleasure. With God as my witness, it will be your greatest pleasure to have one need, one thing to do, one thing to finish, and when that is done, everything else has its place, and you require none of it to be who and what you are given to be in that moment when you finish what you've been given to do. A little mixture of both. Come on up, Sally. Do you understand what I've just said?
Yes. Hi, my name is Sally. There was something that really struck me and gave me more than just an intellectual idea or feeling, I guess, about something that you said, Guy. And that's when you were speaking of the son of the sun, like the blade of grass, the leaf, they're both light. And so the sun, so the leaf is a son of the sun.
Yes.
And so all of a sudden there was kind of an understanding, I guess, that the creation is not outside of its creator.
That's correct.
Yeah. I can't say any more than that.
No, and nothing more needs to be said about it. Now, I'll let that be finished. It finished itself, didn't it? Something came out of it. Now, let me not try and get in mix up with that, and let it just move along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm glad for you, Sally. That's how faith comes about. Never in words or things that one imagines, but in something that shatters the self as it's been imagined. And in the shattering of a self that's been imagined, a gratitude that is unimaginable to that self, but that is felt quite deeply by the aspirant experiencing that moment. Anything else, John?
No, Guy, I have no hands in the queue and no written questions to share with you. So that's
Okay, well, let
it for
me ask in the room, is there anybody? Nope, nobody here. Oh, wait, Katie. Rebecca just raised her hand.
All right, there she did. I'll go to Rebecca. Hello, Rebecca, you're unmuted.
Hey, John, I thought you were my friend, but I know you want to go home. That was supposed to be funny. Okay. Hey, I just wanted to say really quickly, Guy, all this is just it feels like beautiful information. And this little human head of mine, it just wants to explode. It's revolting. And yet I know, hey, that's just part of the process. So anyway, I just want to continuously say thank you for this work. Just immensely appreciated. The reminders for me are just, I want to say needed. That's the only word I can come up with. I don't like it, but that's the only word I have. So thank you.
No, you're welcome, Rebecca. There is a vine and there is a branch, and the branch is the vine to the branch, and that branch is a vine to a branch. And that's how the work is disseminated. That's how the will of heaven comes into this earth. And each and every one of us are intended to be a recipient to whatever extent it's possible for us to be that, so that then we become the son of the son, and then we can give birth to something through our relationship as it's given to us. And that's what's called gathering. Good night.